I bought my cheating ex-fiance's dream house as a wedding present. She was shocked and is begging to live with me. 10 years ago, my ex left me 3 weeks before our wedding. We've been together 4 years, planning our entire future together. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the $47,000 lake house I'd already bought as her surprise wedding gift. Her grandparents' old place on the lake. 3 bedrooms, wrap-around porch. Private DOC. The one she'd shown me photos of since our second date. The one she cried about when her family had to sell it after they died, because of some inheritance dispute between her aunts. I've been saving since we started dating. Working overtime, skipping vacations. When it hit the market in January, I emptied my entire savings account. Signed the papers alone. Didn't tell anyone because I wanted to surprise her at the reception. Month before the wedding, she went to Miami for her bachelorette party. 10 days in South Beach with her college friends. She came back different. Quiet, distant. Wouldn't look me in the eye. During dinner 2 days later, she broke down crying. Said she needed space. That she wasn't ready, that maybe we moved too fast. I asked if something happened in Miami. She just kept saying she was confused. Week later I found out through a mutual friend. Her high school boyfriend had been in Miami the same weekend. 2 weeks after that, she moved to Florida. 6 months later, I saw the engagement photos on Facebook. I was left with a lake house and $200 in my checking account. My parents thought I was insane for keeping it. Told me to sell and move on. But I couldn't. It felt like giving up on something. So I kept it. Spent the next 8 years slowly fixing it up. New roof, updated kitchen. Refinished the hardwood floors. I was working in the city, but my parents live nearby. They'd meet contractors, send me photos, handle the small stuff. During lockdown, everything changed. My company went remote. I packed my apartment and moved to the lake house full-time. Started working from the porch overlooking the water. Best decision I ever made. This past summer was perfect. 4th of July weekend. The 4th of July on the lake is usually a cacophony. Sound carries over the water. Snap and pops, drunken laughter, the droning hum of pontoon boats. But my slice of the shore, tucked away in the darker inlet where the weeping willows choke out the noise, was quiet. I was on the porch, the same wraparound porch that had cost me a summer of sanding and 3 coats of marine-grade sealant. I had a sweating bottle of IPA on the railing, and a book I wasn't reading. The sun was dipping, painting the water in bruising shades of purple and orange. Then tires crunched on the gravel. My driveway is long, hidden from the main road by a dense thicket of pines. People don't just turn around here. You have to mean it. I stood up, wiping my hands on my shorts. A silver rental sedan, dusty and nondescript, crept toward the house. It stopped near the old detached garage I'd converted into a woodshop. The engine cut. The silence rushed back in, heavier than before. The driver's door opened, and a woman stepped out. Even from 50 feet away, through the dusk and the 10 years of silence, my stomach knew who she was before my brain did. Sarah. She didn't look like the girl who had tanned on South Beach. She looked thinner, sharper. Her hair, once a wavy blonde halo, was pulled back in a severe fraying bun. She wore a sundress that looked expensive but wrinkled, like it had been slept in. I didn't walk down to meet her. I stayed on the porch, gripping the railing. My castle. My high ground. She shielded her eyes, looking up at the house. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the structure. Her mouth fell open slightly. She took a step, then stopped, her hand flying to her chest. It was a theatrical gesture, one I remembered well. The performance of emotion. Finally, her eyes locked onto mine. Jack. Her voice was thin, carrying poorly in the humid air. Sarah, I said. My voice was steady. That surprised me. She walked closer, her heels sinking into the soft grass I'd aerated last week. She stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. Up close, I saw the lines around her eyes, the nervous tremor in her hands. I heard, she stammered. Aunt Linda. She told me the old place was, she said Jack bought it. I didn't think. I thought she meant a different Jack. She meant me, I said. She looked around, her eyes drinking in the details. The refinished cedar siding, the new copper gutters, the way I'd restored the stained glass in the entryway, the exact glass she used to tell me stories about. It looks... She choked up. It looks exactly like I remembered. But better. That was the point, I said. What are you doing here, Sarah? She hugged her arms around herself. I'm visiting the cemetery. It's been 10 years since Nana died. I'm staying at the Motel 6 off the highway. She laughed, a brittle, wet sound. It's awful. I had to see the house. I didn't know you lived here. I thought maybe you flipped it. I live here. Can I? She pointed a trembling finger at the stairs. Can I just sit? For a minute? I've been driving for 12 hours. Please. I hesitated. My gut said tell her to leave. My gut screamed that this woman destroyed me for a solid 2 years. But the house behind me felt solid, an armor she couldn't pierce anymore. I was the king here. She was just a tourist. You can sit, I said, gesturing to the rocking chair on the far side. Do you want water? Please. When I came back out with a glass of ice water, she wasn't sitting. She was standing by the porch railing, looking out at the private dock. The sun was gone now, the fireflies rising from the grass. We used to swim off that dock, she whispered. My cousin pushed me off the end when I was 7. I cut my foot on a clamshell. I know, I said. I replaced the decking. No more splinters. No more shells. She turned to me, tears finally spilling over. Why, Jack? Why did you keep it? After everything. This was the moment. The secret I'd held in my throat for a decade. I didn't buy it after you left, Sarah. She froze. What? I bought it in January, 6 months before the wedding. The color drained from her face, leaving her ghostly pale in the twilight. January? But that was when I was stressing about the venue deposits. I know. I was working double shifts. I emptied my savings. I closed on the place 3 weeks before you went to Miami. I took a sip of my beer, watching the realization hit her like a physical blow. It was your wedding present. I was going to give you the keys during the toasts. She made a sound, a guttural, strangled gasp. She collapsed into the rocking chair, burying her face in her hands. Oh my God, she sobbed into her palms. Oh my God, Jack. I watched her cry. It was strange. I felt no satisfaction, but I felt no pity either. I felt like I was watching a storm rain on a field I had already harvested. $47,000, I said softly. That's what it cost back then. A steal. But it cost me everything I had. I didn't know, she wailed. I didn't know. You weren't supposed to know, I said. That's how surprises work. And you weren't supposed to fuck your high school boyfriend in South Beach. But life is full of surprises. She flinched. She looked up, her mascara running. I made a mistake, Jack. I made the biggest mistake of my life. You made a choice, I corrected. And then you moved to Florida. Florida was a nightmare, she whispered. The energy shifted. The nostalgia was gone, replaced by a desperate, frantic energy. Mark wasn't who I thought he was. He drank. He couldn't hold a job. We divorced 4 years ago. I've been trying to find my footing ever since. She stood up again, moving toward me. I didn't step back, but I stiffened. Jack, she said, her voice dropping to that husky register she used to use when she wanted something. I've missed you. Every day. I look at my life, and I look at where I could have been, where I should have been. She gestured to the house. This is my home. It was always supposed to be my home. It was, I agreed. Past tense. It doesn't have to be, she said, her eyes widening, manic with a sudden idea. I'm here now. You're here. We're both single, right? You never married? I never married, I confirmed. I didn't mention Elena, the landscape architect I'd been seeing for 6 months. Elena, who respected my silence and loved the lake as much as I did. Sarah didn't deserve to know about Elena. See, Sarah stepped closer, reaching out to touch my arm. I let her, just to see if I felt that old electric spark. I felt nothing. It was like being touched by a stranger in a crowded subway. We can fix this, she pleaded. I can stay. Just for a few days. We can talk. I can explain everything. I can show you I'm the same girl you fell in love with. You're not that girl, Sarah. I am. I am deep down. And you. She looked at the house again, hunger in her eyes. You kept the house. You kept it for me. Admit it. You fixed it up waiting for me to come back. I looked at the house. I looked at the new recessed lighting in the eaves, the sturdy oak of the doorframe, the hanging plants I watered every morning. No, I said slowly. I kept it because I refused to let you take this from me too. You took my trust, you took my future, you took my dignity for a while. I wasn't going to let you take the investment. I fixed it up for me. This isn't Sarah's grandparents' house anymore. This is Jack's house. She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. But I have nowhere to go, Jack. My lease is up in Tampa on Tuesday. I drove here because I thought maybe the universe was giving me a sign. The universe didn't buy this house, I said. I did. Please, she begged, tears starting again, but they felt manipulative now. Weaponized. Let me stay. Just in the guest room. The old sewing room. I'll cook. I'll help you finish. Whatever needs finishing. I just want to come home. She grabbed my hand. Her palms were clammy. I'll do anything. I still love you. I never stopped. I pulled my hand away gently. You should go, Sarah. Jack, it's dark, I said. The driveway is tricky. You should go before it gets pitch black. You're kicking me out? Of my family home. Her voice rose to a screech. The mask of the repentant pilgrim slipped, revealing the entitled girl who had left me 10 years ago. My home, I corrected. Get off my property. She stared at me, her chest heaving. For a second, I thought she might scream, or throw the glass. Instead, she set the water glass down on the railing with a decisive clink. You're cruel, she spat. You used to be kind. I used to be a doormat, I said. Goodbye, Sarah. She spun on her heel and marched down the stairs. I watched her get into the rental car. She slammed the door hard enough to rock the chassis. The engine revved, and she reversed aggressively, kicking up gravel. I watched the taillights disappear through the pines. I picked up the glass she'd used. I walked inside, into the kitchen I'd tiled myself during the lonely winter of 2018. I placed the glass in the dishwasher. Then I went back out to the porch. Down on the lake, the real fireworks were starting. Bursts of red and gold reflecting off the black water. I took my phone out of my pocket and dialed. Hey, a warm voice answered. Hey, Elena, I said. You still coming over tomorrow for the barbecue? Try and stop me. I made that potato salad you like. Is everything okay? You sound light. I looked around my porch. The ghosts were gone. The air was clear. Yeah, I said, smiling at the dark water. Everything is perfect. I just did a little house cleaning. I thought that was it. I thought the narrative arc had closed. The ex returns, the protagonist stands his ground, the ex leaves. End of story. I underestimated the desperation of a woman who realizes she traded a diamond for a handful of rhinestones. 2 days later, on a humid Tuesday morning, I was in my home office, the room that used to be her grandfather's study. I was on a Zoom call with my team, discussing the Q3 projections, when my phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again. Then a barrage of notifications. I glanced down. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Sarah Jenkins. Some people steal inheritances and call it investment. Karma is real. Sarah Jenkins. Imagine blocking a woman from her dead grandmother's house. Heartless. She was tagging me. She was tagging my parents. She was tagging mutual friends we hadn't spoken to in a decade. I muted my mic on the Zoom call. I have to handle a situation. I typed in the chat and logged off. I walked to the window. There, parked at the end of my driveway, just past the no trespassing sign I had installed yesterday, was the silver rental. She wasn't alone. There was another car, a beat-up Honda, and a man with a camera. I walked out to the porch, locking the screen door behind me. I marched down the driveway. The heat was oppressive, the air thick with mosquitoes. Sarah, I barked as I approached the property line. She was leaning against her car, wearing big sunglasses. The man with the camera, a local freelancer for the County Gazette, I recognized him, looked uncomfortable. This is him, Sarah said, pointing a manicured finger at me. The man who swindled my family estate. Excuse me? I looked at the reporter. Jim, right? You know me. You know I bought this house fair and square from the estate executor 8 years ago. 10 years, Sarah interrupted. He bought it behind my back. It was a gift. I shouted, losing my cool for the first time. A surprise gift for you. So you say. She crossed her arms. But now I'm destitute, and you're sitting on a gold mine that belongs to my bloodline. I'm just here to get the truth out. Jim, I said, my voice low and dangerous. If you take one photo of me or my house, I will sue you and the paper for harassment. Get off my land. Jim lowered the camera. Look, Jack, she called the tip line. Said it was a local interest story about inheritance fraud. I didn't know it was you. He backed away toward his Honda. I'm out. Sorry, Jack. Coward. Sarah screamed at him as he drove away. Now it was just us. The cicadas were screaming in the trees. What is this, Sarah? I asked. Public shaming? You think that's going to get you a key? She took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red-rimmed and wild. I have nothing, Jack. Do you understand? Nothing. Mark gambled away the settlement. I have debt collectors calling me. I'm 34 years old, and I'm living out of a suitcase. And that is my fault. You have this. She gestured widely. You have stability. You have money. You won. Okay. You won the breakup. Is that what you want to hear? I don't want to hear anything from you. I want you to leave. I can't, she sobbed, the fight draining out of her instantly. She slid down the side of her car to sit in the dirt. I literally can't. My card was declined at the Motel 6 this morning. They kicked me out. I have a half tank of gas and nowhere to go. I looked down at her. 10 years ago, I would have moved mountains to stop her from crying. I would have set myself on fire to keep her warm. Call your parents, I said. They won't talk to me, she whispered. Not after I borrowed money from them and didn't pay it back. They sided with you, remember? They told me I was an idiot for leaving you. Call your friends. The ones you went to Miami with. She laughed bitterly. They're all married with kids. They don't have time for the disaster friend. She looked up at me, pathetic and small. Jack, please. I'm not asking for a relationship. I'm asking for mercy. Just let me stay in the garage apartment. I saw you fixed it up. Just for a month. Until I can get a job waiting tables in town. Until I can save enough to leave. I looked at the garage. I used it for woodworking, but there was a small loft above it I'd finished for guests. It had a bed, a kitchenette, a bathroom. It would be so easy to say yes. To be the savior. To prove once and for all that I was the better man. But then I thought about the last 8 years. The nights I spent scraping lead paint off the siding until my fingers bled. The weekends I spent alone, rebuilding the dock, learning to love the silence. I had built a sanctuary of peace. Letting her in, even to the garage, would be letting the chaos back in. It would be disrespecting the man I had fought so hard to become. No, I said. Her jaw dropped. You can't be serious. You'd leave me on the street. I'm not leaving you on the street. I'm leaving you at the consequences of your own actions. I pulled out my wallet. I had about $300 in cash, emergency contractor money. I tossed the bills onto her lap. That's enough for gas and a few nights at a motel in the next county. Go to Asheville. There's work there. I don't want your money, she sneered, though her hand closed around the cash. I want my house. It's not your house, I said, turning my back on her. It never was. You sold your right to this house for a week in South Beach. I walked back up the driveway. I didn't run, though I wanted to. I felt her eyes boring into my back. I'm not leaving, Jack, she screamed after me. I'm going to camp right here. I'll tell everyone. I didn't turn around. I went inside, locked the door, and called the sheriff. Sheriff Miller was a guy I played poker with on Thursdays. He arrived 20 minutes later. I watched from the window as he spoke to Sarah. She waved her arms, pointed at the house, cried. Miller listened, nodded, and then pointed firmly down the road. He handed her a ticket, trespassing. She got in her car. She drove away. I sat on the floor of the living room, my back against the wall. I was shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline. It was the final severance. The last thread of what if being cut with rusty shears. That evening, Elena came over. She found me on the dock, staring at the water. She sat down next to me, her shoulder touching mine. She didn't ask what was wrong. She just handed me a cold beer and waited. She was here, I said finally. The Miami girl? Elena knew the story. Everyone in town knew the story, though most had forgotten the details. Yeah. Is she gone? Yeah. Sheriff Miller escorted her out. Elena took a sip of her drink. Did she see the house? She saw it. Did she like what you did with the kitchen? Elena asked, a small, mischievous smile playing on her lips. I laughed, the tension breaking in my chest. She didn't get to see the kitchen. She only saw the outside. Good, Elena said fiercely. The kitchen is for us. We made that pasta there. I looked at Elena. She wasn't a dream girl from a college fantasy. She was real. She had calloused hands from gardening. She laughed too loud, and she had stuck by me when my dad got sick last year. She wanted to move in, I said. She begged. And I realized something, I said. I used to hate her. For years I hated her. I thought she ruined my life. But today, looking at her, I just felt sorry for her. She's stuck in 2014. She's chasing a ghost. I'm not. I looked back at the house. The lights were on inside, warm and inviting. It wasn't a shrine to a dead relationship anymore. It was just a house. Wood, glass, stone. It's just a house, I said aloud. Elena squeezed my hand. It's a nice house, Jack. It is. I have an idea, Elena said. Let's repaint the guest room. That pale yellow? It's awful. It looks like old mustard. I laughed again, a deep belly laugh that startled a heron into flight nearby. Sarah's grandmother loved that yellow. Well, Elena stood up, pulling me with her. Sarah's grandmother isn't sleeping there. We are. I'm thinking sage green. Sage green sounds perfect. We walked back up the dock, hand in hand. The sun had fully set, and the first stars were piercing the indigo sky. Somewhere, miles away, Sarah was driving a rental car toward an uncertain future, clutching $300 of my money. I hoped she would find her way. I hoped she would find her own house, her own peace. But she would never find it here. I paused at the top of the porch steps and looked out one last time. The private dock sign caught the moonlight. You coming? Elena called from the doorway. Yeah, I said. I turned my back on the dark water and walked into the light. I'm home.